Okay, welcome. Bonjour, everybody. We're going to get started in just a moment. Thanks for joining me today for this sort of last minute prep on my part. I'm just going to wait a minute here till a couple of others join. I see the room is filling up quite quickly. And it's really nice to hear. I mean, every time I have to pivot and say, okay, I'm going to take this webinar myself because we've had to reschedule something from someone else. It's amazing to see so many of you register last minute to hear what I have to say anyway. And hopefully we pique your curiosity with the promise to give you a quick little sneak peek at the new piano publications to give you an idea of what's happening. For those expecting to see Chris Norton today, he's unable to attend. Him and his wife Wendy had to attend a funeral last minute today. Someone in Wendy's family that they know quite well, was quite elderly. So we were rescheduling him for April 19th. He'll follow up on what he started last week. Those of you that were here last week, March 1st, he started giving us little video shots at his micro lessons, which are aimed at different genres in his repertoire. And for us, he's doing pieces that are in the CI, Contemporary Idioms piano syllabus. And so he's going to do part 2 of that on April 19th. So you'll still get to see him do that at some point. And in the meantime, I thought I'll just give you a couple of quick updates on things coming up here. And then I'm going to bring one of our examiners, Andrew Harbridge, in, who we've worked on a publishing deal with, and most of you know this, that we are aiming to replace the New Millennium Series piano books, which have been around for going on 25 years now. They're a little bit old and tired, a little bit hard to maintain in different ways in the background. And so we came across this opportunity with Andrew after he acquired Deborah Wanless music assets last year. And so we've been working together to create a new piano series, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We're going to be on the webinar here roughly every 2 weeks for the next little bit. Next week is March break here in Ontario and other parts of the country. And so we're going to take next Friday off. The Friday after that, I have a really special guest, Dr. Scott Price, who has this newer book out called Autism and Piano Study, a basic teaching vocabulary. All sorts of really neat things. He's going to come on the 22nd. A lot of you have already registered for that. I'll just give you some of the chapter titles so you understand maybe what he's going to do, but he promises to have a bunch of live video from lessons, which I always find really engaging. I've done a couple of workshops like that in the past, in the more distant past, where I've taken videos of actual lessons to demonstrate things, and I find it really powerful. He talks about autism in general, 4 tenets of teaching: person first and identity first language, studio environment, studio communication, routines, teaching finger numbers, right and left hands, music counting, the music score, repertoire, technique and artistry, recitals and adjudicated events, student communication. Those are the titles of the chapters that I think he's going to touch on a lot of that stuff for us over the course of an hour and a half. I'm in the process of reading the book myself, and we'll hold it up again in a couple of weeks when he joins us. And then to get you excited, the week after that is a Good Friday, so we won't have a webinar that day. And then on April 5th, American composer, someone I ran into in Chicago at a conference last year, Brock Chart. I think he's from Kansas City, I'm not sure. But anyway, he's put out these amazing new books here, just full of interesting contemporary repertoire. Right away, the covers kind of grab you, snazzy art, cartoon kind of thing. You'll see it says 5-finger rock. It's not 5-finger in the way we think of it here in Canada necessarily, but these were original pieces that he's written that are stylized in various different rock styles. The pop books I'm just getting into now, and I find them even more compelling. You can see on the front, it mentions pop, rock, rhythm and blues, electronic dance music, hip hop, and Latin pop are the styles that he focuses on. And by talking to him when I met him, he focuses each piece on a particular band, and he's trying to emulate the sound of that band using as little material on the piano as possible to make it exciting for students. And so what I thought I would do to get you excited about that and entice you to try and register for it and make sure you watch live is to play a couple of the songs that I really like with some of my students. I've been using these since September, some of these books, both the rock and the pop book. The rock book has 2 books, a book 1 and a book 2. Book 1 is very much grade 1 for us in thinking of the conservatory system. And the book 2, I'm finding anywhere from grade 2 to 4. And same for the pop books. It's a little bit of a mix. We're going to try and get all of these pieces listed on our syllabus. He also has jazz books that I haven't seen yet that he has sent me that I'm going to get shortly and start looking through those. But anyway, on April 5, he's going to give us a rundown of all this music, backing tracks recorded by live session musicians at studios in Kansas City, which is a really great feature. You would have access to those if you purchase books. He also has interesting things like studio license. so I can get the pop book, which I really like, for $120, and I can dispense copies of that to my students however I want indefinitely going forward. I find that really attractive because I think it's going to be a real hit. So anyway, I want to play a couple of these tunes just to get you excited about that and to give you a little bit of a repertoire session, because I know that's what we had originally planned with Chris today. We'll give you a bit of repertoire. By then, Andrew should be on and be able to join us, and we can talk through Super Score about the new series a little bit and just give you a little sneak peek at what we're hoping to do. So I'm going to go to the piano now. I'm just going to change my mic. I'm going to talk a little bit about Zoom exams, and I know I've been harping on this before and trying to communicate a little more clearly, but I'm going to do more of that. We're having trouble with the Zoom exams, folks, in that a lot of the parents, when they're hosting these from their homes, they're not really set up in a way with the right device or the right microphone situation. So we're asking teachers to do some education. And I know the other day I heard an exam on the iPad. It's all they had organized and ready in the teacher studio even, and it was less than ideal. And so our examiners are now trained. You're going to start seeing comments in the students' comments that say, we couldn't hear the dynamics today using the recording or broadcasting environment you were using. So we're getting a little bit harsher on that. During the pandemic was one thing, things seem to be working well, but we're just finding that Zoom is not optimized for certain devices very well, even with the original sound enabled. And check out my webinar from back in September that I did at the beginning of this season, where I went and I used 3 different devices, my laptop, different microphones. I used my iPad, I used my iPhone, and the iPad Pro, which is only a couple of years old, was the worst device, which is a little bit shocking. There's nothing we can do about it. So I'm going to change my mic because I'm using a podcast mic into a sound module, which I find works really great for the spoken voice. But for me to pick up the piano, I'm going to get fussy. I'm going to change to my USB mic, Blue Yeti, change a couple of settings here to make sure you can hear the live piano. So bear with me for a moment. Okay, you should be able to hear me now. I'm just going to take off the automatically adjust microphone volume. I'm going to enable original sound, and that should be better suited. You probably hear my audio change. If you can't hear me at all, please throw something in the chat box so that when I play the second piece, I can do some adjusting. But I think this should work based on my experience. First piece is from a rock book. It's called Going Back, from Rock Book 2. This is by Brock Chart, and I think you're going to like it. It starts out with a sort of Beatles-like kind of thing, and then halfway through morphs into a whole different vamp altogether, really quite jazzy and bluesy at the same time. That's the first piece. The next one I want to play is from the Pop Book 2 called Leaps and Bounds. Just checking the chat box to make sure. How are we sounding here? Okay, I don't see any comments from anyone. Andrew's just coming in. Andrew, I'm just going to play another piece for everyone here by Brock Chart, and then we'll get to our matter at hand here. Okay, so second piece, Leaps and Bounds. This is one I came across recently, and all of a sudden everyone wants to play it, to the point where I'm not even playing it for anyone anymore because I don't want to hear it too much. It's a special piece, it's really sensitive. It's in a sort of pop ballad kind of style, and I'll just play it through. It features a lot of hand crossings. It's actually not as hard as it looks, but I would estimate this fits really well into about grade 3 at the moment. So again, that's by Brock Chart. He's going to be our guest in about 3 weeks' time on April 5. That's what the books look like there. We can talk with him and ask him all sorts of questions. Oh yeah, someone's asking if I can show the cover. I don't know how we get these in Canada yet. I know you can go to his website, mymelodies.com, and you can order them. And I'm sure he'll ship them to Canada, but I'm helping him work on a way to get these up here so that we can do them. I mean, it's just really great music, and that's just a small sample of what's available in all sorts of different styles. The backing tracks are great. They come at 60%, 80%, and 100% tempo using live musicians. Quite a neat feature. He's got a really neat talent for, just like Chris Norton and many others that we know, including Andrew, they can strip down and just create these interesting things with minimal means to capture styles and things. So it's really great. I'm going to change my microphone back. Just bear with me for a moment. Okay, so Andrew, before I was just telling everybody about the Zoom exams, and when we're examining, we're having a little bit of trouble from time to time hearing students because they're not using a device that's perhaps really conducive. And so we're leaning on everyone a little bit, especially the teachers, to try and take control over these Zoom exams as much as possible. And if the students are doing them in their own homes, to do some testing in advance to make sure they're using the best device. I'm just finding that more than half the time we have to spend 5 or 10 minutes changing devices at the beginning of the Zoom exams lately. So I wanted to mention that, reinforce that by changing my mic. I'm sure you can hear the difference already in my level of quality sound. Just want to catch up here with everyone in the chat box. The other title of that second piece I just played was Leaps and Bounds. The first piece was called Going Back. And again, I'll hit you all in your inbox on this in the coming weeks for that April 5 webinar if you're curious about Brock's music. I find it's just really added a lot of depth to the repertoire I'm able to cover, in addition to the sonatinas and minuets, the music by women composers, all these things that we're looking to feature, Andrew, in our new piano series. So
That's right.
Here. And what I thought you could do is come on. We're not going to be long today, folks. We're just going to do a quick session here just to give you maybe give you a chance to ask questions, but to give you an update on our progress. We've been working through with a committee that's ever expanding slightly to look at music to include from pre-grade 1 to grade 8. We're not going to do a grade 9 or a grade 10 album. There's just too much effort involved for very little in return there. The economics just don't support it. But we're working through about level 4 right now. We're about halfway. As we get into it, it strikes me we're getting lots of music, of course, from public domain, so that we have our historical components covered. Interesting to see all sorts of music by women and BIPOC composers that we're uncovering through the good work of Eleanor and Cecile. I know they may be on this webinar even, I'm not sure. But they've been enlightening us once a month for the last 2 to 3 years now, and we're including a lot of that music, or hoping to, as we get into the higher grades. And then looking at the mosaic of things that just comes at us from composers across the country in all sorts of different styles, little regional things and folk tune aspects, contemporary music, all sorts of different moods. And so we're looking at calling the series the Mosaic Collection, because it's going to be a collection of mosaics from all sorts of different styles and time periods spanning about 500 years and in many different places. So I thought, Andrew, you could come on and just show us a little bit about the technical aspect about, and also as the publisher, your angle on how you see the series coming together and what we think people can expect.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to include some composers that have been forgotten, women composers, and we have Ignatius Sancho and Nathaniel Dett. Nathaniel Dett has written some neat little jazz pieces that will be included. Of course, we have Christopher Norton. Dr. Lee Evans just passed away last fall, and we have all of his last compositions, and you'll see them in the collection. I'm sure we already have some of his easy ones, like he did This Old Man for Us. I'll share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. And so people know these are things that he had penciled, but he had never published, right?
That's right. We've been deciphering his handwriting and publishing what he's got. So he wasn't, he doesn't write a lot of the earlier level stuff, but we got him to write some arrangements of folk songs. This one is This Old Man, and I'm showing this on Superscore. And he wrote a little contemporary bass pattern to go along with it. And some of them, he also did a London Bridge. This is for the pre-grade one. He did a London Bridge, and there's two different bass patterns. So the teacher could play the bass pattern, or you could have a digital piano play the bass pattern, which is very cool. And Dr. Lee Evans, I didn't realize he had such a career as a performer. So we just feel very honored to have him as part of the collection. We have Christopher Norton, of course, in our collection. And let's see, here's another woman composer. Derek, you might be better at pronouncing the name. Verandeau?
Pauline Viardot.
Viador, and we've added a little bit of tambourine to this one. I wonder if I'll have to go out. I forgot to hit share the music. Let me go back.
Yeah, go back and I'll tell people a little bit about what we're doing. I mean, these are going to be hard copy books, folks. But the
Yes.
greatest thing about this is we're stepping into the digital age here with Superscore, and everything will also be in the Superscore app. And I know many of you have seen the Superscore webinars that Andrew's done with George Lythurst of Time Warp Technologies. And so you'll be able to hear all the tracks. Andrew's doing a lot of recording in the background. And so everything in the music, from what I understand, if you're on Superscore and you were to purchase the albums, you would be able to hear the backing tracks that we've created, the recordings, and watch them on the screen. And Andrew will demonstrate some of the other features that Superscore offers as well. But these will be in hard copy, of course. That'll be our main staple.
And where possible, we have the composers creating the performances.
Right?
So these performances aren't computer. It's real people behind the recordings. And we're also working on having all these recordings on your favorite streaming service.
Right.
So however your students listen, they get to listen for free in their service, like Spotify, Apple Music, that sort of thing. So
you can download all the recording tracks of all the music in these albums.
yeah. Did you want to hear some of this one?
Yeah, show people how this works here.
You can shut off the tambourine that's in the background if you wish, but it's kind of fun with, and I'm just going to hit play. And again, that's a pre-grade one piece. I think that would be a lot of fun for a student.
Absolutely. Just so people know, the green line, it's going to look a bit delayed because of the technology we're using through the share screen today. But in real time, that green line follows exactly the beat and encourages students to stay in time.
Yes, it's great for helping students stay in time. And the score won't progress unless you hit the right note.
When it's in learn mode, right?
Yes, when it's in learn mode. Okay, we have one other, good old Beethoven. And this will be in one of the albums. I'll just hit play here. And wherever possible, go from the original scores. So that's a bit of Beethoven.
Excellent. So we've been looking, through the public domain music. We're going to have the new books grouped so that it follows our new syllabus, where from grades 1 to 5, there's group 1, which includes Baroque and classical music. Group 2 includes romantic and modern style music. And then in grade 6, we start adding more groups to the mix to ensure that students are getting Baroque music and that kind of thing in their diet. But we're looking for all new music, so that music that you may be familiar with from our previous series, the New Millennium series, you're not going to see any of that in the new books, except for a couple of the Clementi sonatinas, for which George Litterst at Time Warp and Dr. Arthur Uhl, who we've had on the repertoire, have redone and done revisions to those based on some revisions that Clementi had tried to publish. And they're really neat. And so we're going to include some of those movements in their newer form, just because we think they're novel and it'd be a nice way to publish those. But otherwise, it's going to be all new music. We're looking for the new Beethoven, the Mozart that we haven't really seen much in the conservatory books lately, and then unearthing all sorts of other things that maybe have forgotten or suppressed over time, and all the usual suspects here, like Daniel Gottlob Turk, as you can see here, Andrew has up on the screen now.
And I wanted to show this feature. We'll have in the hard copies little bios of the composers like before, but here's a new added thing. Your students can watch a video of, I'm pushing on the wrong computer here.
Daniel Gottlob Turk, born in 1750 in Germany, was an amazing composer, teacher, and music expert during the classical era. He loved music from a young age and became known for his incredible piano skills and clever compositions. Turk wasn't just a composer, he also wrote a famous book called Klavierschule, which helped people learn how to play the piano better. This book became super important for piano.
So that's a little bit of history that the students can watch. They're attached to the pieces.
Excellent. That's a really great feature for some of these music. How much of the music is going to have those kind of embedded features in them?
Well, I think we'll cover all the Bach pieces, all the Beethoven, all the Turk, all the big guys.
And you have a Mozart as well, I think, right? That you
Yes.
like that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My daughter, who's graphic. I've got two daughters that work for me that are graphic designers, and Shreya, my oldest daughter, has made a really great one of Beethoven, and we have an advanced version or an early version. You notice some of the language in that Turk video was more geared to a young person,
right.
Under 10.
That's really great. That's really great to speak directly to them that way. Someone's asking here, do we have music by Black composers and East Asian music included? Absolutely, yeah. We're looking at those types of styles. I don't believe we'll have an East Asian composer necessarily. That's tricky to negotiate when it comes to copyright laws and remunerating people for royalties and things like that. But in that kind of style, we're seeing a lot of that music, mainly Canadian composers, really. For any of you that are familiar with our Canadian contemporary repertoire series that we've been publishing and we will continue to publish, that serves the contemporaneous piano syllabus. A lot of those composers, you're going to see their names filtering through here, through the Old Wanless and then Harbridge connection. Those are the ones we're going to be relying on most heavily. And then we have a number of new composers that have reached out to us over the last while that we're going to include as well.
Mm-hmm. Ignatius Sancho and Nathaniel Dett are Black composers.
Right. Anyone that doesn't know Nathaniel Dett was Canadian, I believe. And I know many of you may have known of the Nathaniel Dett Chorale that operates out of Southern Ontario that features a lot of his music in a choral setting, but he also has a lot of piano music that we're taking a good look at. Kim's asking, is the SuperScore app usable on a MacBook, either Pro or Air?
It's only usable with iPad.
All right. And either the iPad Air or the iPad Pro or even an iPad Mini, I believe you can use that with.
As long as it's not too old, it will work.
And Andrew was talking about the Learn feature. What we do is we hook the iPad up to your digital piano, and then the iPad and SuperScore can read what the student's playing. That's how the Learn mode works. You'd have to actually have it wired right up to the keyboard. But you can use it without the keyboard as well, just to have the student play along with the backing track as it's coming out of the iPad.
Yeah, with the if you don't have it hooked up to a digital piano, you can still watch the videos. You can hear the score. You can slow down the score and play along. Right. Now, with the Learn mode, you get all the features if you have it hooked to a digital piano. And a lot of students have digital pianos. They can play one hand at a time. After they're done, they can play back what they just played and judge for themselves how well they did. The backing tracks will wait in Learn mode for the student to play, or you can shut all the instruments off. There's a metronome built right in. Yeah, it's just, this will be the most state of the art uh, conservatory set of books ever, anywhere.
Right.
I think I can make that claim.
Yeah.
I've seen other ones, they have PDFs, but they don't have anything like this. Let me know if you know of something better.
Della's asking, who do you contact if your SuperScore library is empty? I'd reach out to Time Warp Technologies about that if you should have something there and you don't, to get that reconnected.
Yeah, it should, there should be able to load up. There's a whole load of free sample scores. So
Right.
yeah, check it with that. Reach out to Time Warp Tech. George Litterst, who is one of the creators of it. He is very good at getting back to you very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone can download that SuperScore app for free on the iPad. Check out some of the replays we have using SuperScore on the CCTV YouTube channel if you're curious about that app. But we're excited to have Conservatory Canada's new piano series be integrated and embedded right into the app. And like I said, hard copies will still be available. They're going to be printed out of Peterborough, where Andrew lives. I've seen copies of what you guys are producing lately, not our books, but what they're able to produce. And the binding is quite strong, and a square binding. We won't have coil bindings necessarily. That really adds a lot of cost to the retail cost of the book. So we haven't really talked about that much yet. But still, these are high quality hard copy publications that'll be available through all the usual retail channels. You would be able to order these on Andrew's website, harbridgemusic.com, or also through the Long and McQuaid chain. I'm sure they're going to be quite readily available there, just as our current books are.
Yeah, we supply all the little retailers as well. So everyone should be able to get this.
What are we looking at for a timeline now, Andrew, in terms of when we think this we'd be ready to launch this series for people to order?
I am absolutely determined to have this ready by the last day of June at the latest. I'm hoping for sooner.
Yeah, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but this is great. We get this out to everyone now so that they know what to expect. So you'll be able to order these in time for the summer and get prepared. We will host webinars early in the fall to start talking about the repertoire, walk you through it, give you really practical ideas and suggestions for how to teach the repertoire. So you can look for a whole series based on that. What updates will there be to keyboard harmony? Evelyn, no updates there. Our piano syllabus remains the same. We updated that in 2018, so we're not anticipating to have to alter or adjust that anything for the benefit of the new piano series. Which historical women composers will be included? As many as possible. So we have so far, I believe, Elisabetta de Gambarini, and because we're early in the process, and Cecile's helping us with this a little bit, it's harder to find music by women composers early in the sequence. They didn't write a lot for beginners necessarily. And so Gambarini comes to mind.
Mel Boni?
Yeah, Mel Bonis, and Hedige Chrétien is also, we've already selected pieces by her in grade 2 and 3, I believe. And then
Hannah Smith.
What's that?
Hannah Smith.
Hannah Smith. Yeah.
I think her piece was approved, but.
Yeah. And then once we get to grade 4, 5, 6, where we are now, it's the floodgates will open a little bit, and by 7 and 8, we'll have the Cecile Chaumanads in there and many others that we've been hearing about through the series with Cecile and Eleanor as they've been enlightening us to the music that's been out there that we have never seen before. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that definitely will be in there. And those are some of the names that come to my mind right off the top of my head. Anybody else have any questions? The Old New Millennium series is going to continue to be available for a period of time. I'm not sure exactly how long. It depends how much is in mainly the Long and McQuaid chain. They have quite a bit of that stock still, and as they burn through that slowly, it's just not going to be replenished after a certain point here soon. So I'd say if the New Millennium series is a publication you really like, and we're still quite fond of it. I mean, at the time when we launched that in 1999, I think it was by far the best collection out there. It was meaty. It had a lot of the greatest hits in there historically, and lots of what at the time was really new repertoire. Maybe a lot of that's gotten a bit tired, I find. But from a historical point of view, I know I'll still be leaning on that old series myself quite a bit, but definitely overdue that we have something new to look at as well. Sandra's asking, is it recommended that teachers have SuperScore then, and should students have it as well? Andrew, can you tell us how that works?
Well, you are completely fine with just the books alone. Mm-hmm. like you always, but the super score, it's nice to have both if you have the book and the super score. And the super score is more for the student than for the teacher. It's great if the teacher has it in their studio, but the idea is you introduce the piece, teach it to them, they go home, they have the learn feature, they can check that they're playing the right notes, they can hear the performances. So I would use them both together.
Right.
Did I answer the question?
I think so, yeah. But Sandra, we'll just make it clear, it's not necessary. The SuperScore app is a luxury in this case. It's a luxury I really like and use myself as well. But I can see why a lot of people will just want to stick with hard copies. There's an extra cost to purchase the album in SuperScore, and it's roughly equivalent to the hard copy cost of a book. So does everyone want to have a hard copy book and the album in SuperScore? Most people not, but you'll have some students, I think, that just love the technology and iPad and what it can do. They won't need the hard copy cover. They can just spend their money within the SuperScore app, and then they can use the Learn feature with the digital piano. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, you can do iPad alone, and it's nice. I have almost all my students using SuperScore, and it's nice. They're all organized. They don't forget. There's no scores forgotten anymore. By the way, you can write right on the scores,
Right, you
just
can
like a book.
annotate.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and it will turn the pages for you if you use jam mode and or learn mode. It will do that. And what was I going to? I forget what I was going to say about the.
There's so many features.
Yeah,
But we'll have you and George on in the fall too to illuminate that for everyone and give everyone a really good look about how that works again. And I know over time you both, especially Andrew, you've created exercise for the Conservatory Canada technique and sight reading as well that are embedded in that app, I believe, still.
yeah. I have developed an ear training app,
Mhm.
and I can do all the grades if there's a market for it. A sight reading one where the green bar doesn't move unless they've played the right note.
Yeah.
And same with the ear tests, or you can just use the screen like it was a book, and all the technique books all the way up to grade 8. And yeah,
That's
so
cool. Just looking through my notes here then, and if anyone has any questions about that's basically what we wanted to do for you today was give you an idea on an update of, what this thing's going to look like, what the Super Score means for the Conservatory Canada series. We've talked about a potential name, the Mosaic Collection, that gives us these mosaics from across the country and beyond, and how this music all fits together from historical points of view and hopefully updating with more relevant modern points of view is what we're really after. Lots of folk tune bases for a lot of the new music, and of course contemporary styles. It'll be a multi-purpose superstore of a one-stop shopping place for students if they need repertoire all in one place. This will definitely be the place to go for CC exams and digital badges.
mhm. I just remembered
Yeah,
George Litters from Superscore is supplying all our examiners with access to Superscore.
right.
So there's no fiddling with, they're all legal copies.
Yeah. That's right. We won't have to shuttle scans back and forth over the internet for these Zoom exams. Are the technique requirements going to change with the sight reading or ear? No, not at all, Evelyn. That syllabus is staying set in stone for as long as possible, and we don't see any reason to update or change those requirements. And when we did that back in 2018, that was our intention, was that it was going to be set in stone for a very long time. It's the repertoire that keeps expanding, basically, and even the stuff in the old books is still good. We're never taking pieces off of the syllabi lists in terms of repertoire, except in cases in a contemporary list where something maybe have gone out of print or unavailable any longer. Sometimes we catch that and we remove the odd title. But everything in the repertoire is always expanding. Everything else remains the same. So there's nothing to change there or worry about. One other thing, folks, the March 15th deadline is coming up next week, and you won't hear from me by then in terms of students. If they want to register for an in-person exam as part of the June session, we have a number still doing that. We have about 20 centers I think we're going to be operating in-person exams in. It's a much smaller scale than we used to do, but we've found a way, I think, that we can make it work despite the lower numbers in that sense. We know that most of you are going to register your students for flex exams even in May and June, so that they can get their pick of the time and that kind of thing. As May starts coming, make sure you allow, instead of only 2 weeks, allow 3 weeks. And then in June, allow 4 weeks. Make sure you register in advance, because the examiners get quite busy and we can't guarantee their time. Even though the students are giving us 3 dates and times when they have to register, it's still not easily to coordinate all of that come June time when everyone's busy examining in different ways. Where's the Toronto Center? The Toronto Center is at the Musica School. What it looks like to me and what we've done the last couple of years is we hold a center in Toronto at Musica, which is in North York, I believe. And then we're also going to have a center in Georgetown once again. And we're hoping to service Hamilton. Between Hamilton and Burlington, we'll have a center there as well. Whitby, it looks like Whitby will also have a center if anyone's in the GTA. And if anyone's in Peterborough, we probably won't have a dedicated June session. I don't think that's an option at registration, but anyone registering for a flex exam can register for an in-person flex exam, given that we have Andrew there in Peterborough to hear those students in person. Okay, and Andrew, anything else you wanted to mention today about the series or anything I'm forgetting?
I think we've covered it, and I'll be interested to know what everyone's reaction is when they see the whole package.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. We still have lots of work to do, and we're keen on it. We've got a good 3 months here to go, and so you can all look forward to that in due course here by the end of June. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, feel free to email us and let us know what your thoughts are about the new piano series or anything else I've talked about. June exams. Again, students can register up to March 15th for in-person exams in June. And that's about it for today, folks. We just wanted to hit you with a short half hour here to replace what was supposed to be Chris Norton. He'll be back again on April 19th with micro lessons. And in the meantime, I do hope you check us out for the presentation by Dr. Scott Price from the University of South Carolina, who's going to talk about autism and piano teaching. And it goes beyond autism. I think he's also going to talk about students with other exceptionalities and disabilities. Okay, thanks everybody. I know someone's asking here if they can see the package. Oh, hey, you can watch the replay, of course, on YouTube. It'll be available within a couple of minutes from now. So we'll render that down. And you can watch anything on Conservatory Canada TV within minutes of us concluding a live webinar. So you can find everything there. Thanks everyone for your time and attention today. Andrew, thanks for joining us in here after an exam that you just held. Thanks for joining us. We'll be in touch soon, everyone. Have a great weekend.
okay, you too. Thank you, everybody.